Now, I want to introduce to you the chair of the Dog and Cat Management Board, Felicity-ann. Felicity-ann is going to speak, and then we're going to get the Minister and Felicity to take some questions from you all at that time. Felicity-ann has a very long CV, so I'm not going to go through it. She's passionate about creating a better, healthier, more exclusive Australia. She was recently for 14 years, and so she brings this skills and experience to this as well. She was Mayor of the City of Marion for 14 years. And had a 2-year term as National President of the Australian Local Government Association. She was also South Australian of the Year in 2014. So welcome, Felicity.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I too want to reinforce the Minister's thanks to you for giving up quite a number of days, weekends, probably sunny afternoons like this to come along and be part of democracy in action. I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and I want to thank Ian for supporting the board in having this process undertaken and for supporting the citizens' jury processes. He's been involved with a number of them, so he's clearly coming to love them. Maybe, not sure. The jury's out on that. So, but you've heard, this is an honest and transparent process, and I think it certainly does add an element, another layer for government. Having come from local government, you've all heard I've had a long history in local government. I think local government has done this quite well for a long time. It's much easier at the local government level to corral people because you're interfacing much more closely. The next level of government is that little bit further away, and I think processes like this are a good way for us to be actually able to hear from a cross-section of the community. Now, I just want to help you understand who some of the people are that are milling around now. The media's gone, not that I wouldn't have told you who they were. I want to acknowledge my board, the Dog and Cat Management Board. There's a number of them here today, as well as a number of people from the department as well. So and the RSPCA and others. So we've got Tim Basadura, the CEO of the RSPCA, Richard Nussel from the Animal Welfare League, Graham Pratt, the Deputy Chief Executive of the department, from the Australian Veterinary Association. I'm jumping ahead. I don't know if Tim's here. Did I see Tim? Oh, here he is. Tim Goods, that's who's the Deputy CEO of the Department for the Environment, Water and Natural Resources. And the board members that are here, John Dazanos from the Salisbury Council, who is an Animal Management Officer there, Dr. Susan Hazel, who's the course coordinator at the Roseworthy Veterinary School, Councillor Jan Loveday. Is Jan here? Not here. We are expecting her today, who's an Adelaide Hills councillor, and is Wendy here? Wendy Wakefield, another board member who thinks she'll be here a little later, who is a legal practitioner. The board is a skill-based board, as you can see. It has representation from the stakeholders in this area, and clearly we have an evidence-based approach, and that's why it's been one of the goals or principles of the board. One of its aspirational targets is to see mandatory desexing of dogs and cats. So we're up front, we're telling you we want it. That's our position. Obviously, what we're hoping is that through your discussions and deliberations and the people you hear from, you'll come to a similar view, but it's up to you. But nevertheless, we are very transparent in what we believe. You've heard the number of 10,000 dogs and cats that are unwanted in a year and turn up at many of the agencies that I've outlined. Well, we think that's a fairly conservative number. It doesn't take into account all of the dogs and cats that are put down by council animal management officers and at council pounds. It doesn't take into account all of the dogs and cats euthanased each year by vets. Many of them are stray animals that someone finds in the street and says, what can I do with this animal? It's too far to go to the RSPCA or anywhere. I'll take it round to the vet. And, the vet might put up a sign, kittens available or lost cat, and, someone please take it. And some go, but others don't. And their fate is to be euthanased. It doesn't take into account the stray dogs and cats that are captured and destroyed by the state and national park rangers, the wilderness protection area wardens, the natural resource management officers, or the Crown Lands management officers. So all of those have powers under the Act to seize and destroy animals that might have wandered. They could have been left behind by people who went on a picnic or something like that. So those numbers are not captured when you hear that 10,000. You're going to hear from the RSPCA and the Animal Welfare League. You'd all be aware of the huge amount of effort they spend every year in fundraising to keep their organisations going, and much of their resources are spent in dealing with this issue. And it's not that they don't try to find homes for them. You know about the wonderful pet adoption programs that they have. They put enormous amount of resources into those programs every year, and if they didn't, there would be many, many more than that 10,000 that you've heard about. Now, it's the job of the Dog and Cat Management Board to use academic research to consult all of the stakeholders and provide advice to government on what action should be taken. And I've told you that we say, and the board is a strong supporter of mandatory desexing of dogs and cats. So, there's a few other reasons why we think it's important. Not only this issue of unwanted litters, fewer animals turning up at pounds and shelters and so on will mean that there'll be less numbers of animals being euthanised each year. But research also shows that desexing has many other benefits for dogs and for cats. Desexing reduces dogs or cats' desires to escape and to roam around and to wander. It increases life expectancy. It reduces the development of reproductive cancers. And desexing has been shown to improve the temperament of animals. For cats in particular, it means less of that wailing and calling at night that drives a lot of people in the increasingly urbanised locations in our cities crazy. Less spraying of urine in your neighbour's yard, digging up the garden patch. You know, many people have gone in for gardens, the sand pit that you've got, the little shell that maybe you forgot to cover. Less of that happening, less injuries and less vet bills. It also reduces the chances of a wide range of diseases, feline immunodeficiency virus and feline leukemia virus, which can be transmitted through bite wounds and scratches, which wandering cats end up with quite a bit of. For dogs, desexing reduces aggression level in dogs, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. It reduces territorial behaviour. It reduces antisocial behaviours such as that dog that jumps up and starts doing its thing on your leg, which is not very attractive, is it, when you're going out for a walk down to have a coffee. And it usually entitles the owner, because many local governments have done a lot of things around strategies to try and increase the owners taking up the option of desexing their pets by giving you a reduction in your registration fees. That is a local decision though, but many councils have taken on board trying to do that to reinforce those good behaviours. So I just want to return to talk to you a little bit more about dog attacks in our community, which is a big area of concern to the board. In your information packs, you'll see that the number of dog attacks in our community has actually been steadily rising over the last decade. Reported dog attacks on humans went up from 715 in 2003-04 to over 1,300 in 2012-13. Hospital admissions from dog attacks, the most serious attacks, increased from 118 in 2001 to 235 in 2012-13. Now, we think that these statistics massively underreport dog attacks. We know the most dog attacks involve the family pet or a dog that is known to the family and to the victim. We know that many dog owners don't worry about reporting a dog attack, even if it's a serious one. Why? Because they're worried that that dog's going to be taken from them. They'll have to surrender that dog, or that it could potentially be put down. So, whilst the statistics are not perfect, they do show a clear trend of increasing dog attacks. And they also show, unfortunately, that most of the victims are babies, toddlers and children under 9. And you would have heard last weekend of that terrible attack in Sydney, I think it was, where the baby was attacked by the family pet while they were sleeping, and it was in a basket at the end of the bed. What the statistics don't tell us is the massive physical and traumatic effect that a dog attack has on the victim, not only the victim, but particularly on the family as well. And the attacks to the face and the neck of the child obviously result in permanent scarring of a physical nature. Now, some of you may say, well, why should we be making desexing mandatory? Aren't there some other things that we can do? Well, yes, there are, and my board long before I became the chair in January, has been working away at a number of strategies, obviously in an effort to reduce the issues that I've just outlined before. So for years, you'd probably be aware that the board has run public campaigns encouraging people to voluntarily desex their dogs and cats. And many years ago, the law was changed to those owners who desex their dogs being able to have this discount on their registration, which I mentioned earlier. The board has run training programs in primary schools to teach children about safety around dogs. We've recently stepped up our educational programs to a program that targets potential parents, whether mum's having a baby, giving advice on introducing that new baby into the home where there's a dog. And this program's been rolled out as part of a neonatal classes strategy and other places where new parents will gather. And we were recently involved at the Pregnancy and Babies Expo, and it was very well visited and lots of interest in that. We've run public advertising campaigns warning people that any dog can bite. Through councils and our website, we provide a huge range of information, lots of fact sheets to help people understand about the benefits of desexing and the strategies to reduce the risk of dog attacks. Now, despite all of those great things that we've been doing and supported by councils and other agencies, desexing rates have plateaued. Our pounds and our shelters are full of unwanted dogs and cats, and dog attacks continue to rise. Now, the board doesn't believe that mandatory desexing will be a silver bullet, but we know that it's another tool in our toolkit to help us address all of those issues that I just outlined to you before. So what I ask you to do is to think about our state as a whole and to think about the desexing rates of dogs, which run at about 68%, and the numbers of animals, percentage of animals that are presenting at shelters that are not desexed. We know that even if mandatory desexing became the law, there would be slippage around that and we wouldn't probably get 100%, but we do know that an improvement on 68% to say 80 or 90 would really help us in reducing the huge numbers of unwanted litters that are born each year. It would drastically reduce the number of pets ending up at pounds and shelters, and we think it would slash the number of pets that were euthanised each year. So, increasing desexing rates will also, we believe, reduce dog attacks, an unacceptable number of injured children being treated in our hospitals, and improve the health and temperament of our dogs and cats, making them better pets, and mean that our pets, on average, will lead a longer, safer and healthier life. So, obviously, citizens' jury is going to be, as the Minister said, an opportunity for you to look at this evidence, to look at the other side of the arguments, what the downsides will be, perhaps if there are any, and deliberate about that, and obviously talk to the Minister about, whether or not he's prepared to take it forward. Just in closing, I want to parallel the introduction of microchipping. When I had my dog, who's sadly gone to God a few years ago, at the grand age of about 13, when we had her desexed, so this is going back 15 years ago now, microchipping was done under anaesthetic. That was the way it had to be done. The technology was such that you needed to deal with it in this particular way. Now, many councils run microchipping days where people who've been trained to do the microchipping can do it for about $25. So I think one of the arguments that we hear often is about, well, desexing is going to be a cost too much to bear for a person who owns a pet. It might be a barrier to low SES people being able to have a pet. So I think what we need to do is to realise that whilst there might be particular constraints today and costs are being borne about looking after animals that are surrendered, there's an opportunity to refocus where we put our finances to make sure that we can do a similar process to the one that we're seeing vets in collaboration with councils and Animal Welfare League and RSPCA and others that will help us to reduce that impost. And my board has also recently put a paper up on the website talking about what the lifetime cost of owning a pet is. And I can tell you that even desexing a mature female dog is a very, very small cost to pay in the price of what you pay to look after your dog or cat well in their lifetime. good luck with your deliberations. I look forward to hearing your verdict when we come and meet together again. I will pop in and out over the next few weeks as well, and more than happy to chat to you if you want to call me in again, or any of my board. We'd be more than happy to chat to you. So again, thank you very much for your involvement in this process.